Kenya in the past years has hosted notable world leaders, from the world's most powerful man, Barack Obama, to Pope Francis. Kenya continues to make friends, signing agreements with India, China, and Israel. During this week's anniversary of the Global Economic Summit, we revisit these memorable visits and the promises of the agreements signed in Kenya's name.
When Barack Obama came to Kenya in July 2015, the world took notice. The leader of the free world was in his father's country, not just for a state visit, but for the Global Entrepreneurship Summit. Kenya had experienced a previous onslaught on its image because of terror and the predictions of possible strained foreign relations after the outcome of the 2013 elections. This visit was a turning point. Pope Francis' visit much later in November continued to magnify Kenya's stake in the world. This year alone, the state has welcomed Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari, Turkey's Tayyip Erdogan, Gabon's Ali Bongo and Botswana's Ian Khama, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. But what is it about Kenya that draws and charms so many?
Our country has achieved very coveted status internationally. Now, internationally, everyone understands that if Kenya is leading in the prosecution of a certain item, it shall be delivered. It is in this the belief that engagement, multilateralism, is what will provide us with the answers for dealing with the challenges of today.
It's exceptionally good for our country. And it's part of the answer to the question you ask, why does he go out? These meetings here aren't taking place because people favored us. The president went there, he said we can host this meeting, we have the facilities.
At independence, Kenya's foreign policy was taking shape. Largely unwritten, it was hinged on foreign principles such as non-alignment. At the time of the Cold War, Jomo Kenyatta's approach was largely pro-Western and anti-communist. What Kenya was at independence is not what Kenya is today. In 1963, under the regime of Jomo Kenyatta, Kenya mainly faced west. Historians say that it is a paradox of history that Uhuru Kenyatta, unlike the founding father, has aligned Kenya more with economies like China in the east. The visits have yielded bilateral agreements and treaties, many very ambitious. On paper, promise big to Kenyans, many waiting for delivery to see if they justify what critics call high costs of hosting foreign delegations and inconvenience such as closing major routes and highways. Ethiopia's agreement offers Kenyans an oil pipeline from Lamu to Addis Ababa to be launched in December. With Nigeria, the fruits of an earlier agreement in 2014 in Abuja included the importing of Kenya's agricultural products and less restricted movement, yet to be realized. Israel's promise is centered on key areas such as security and health, in addition to agriculture partnership. The Galana Kulalu project, shrouded in praise and controversy in equal measure, is a measure of this friendship. In 2014, China's Premier Li Keqiang signed 17 multi-billion deals, 327 billion shillings for the standard gauge railway and 2 billion shillings for Development Bank, projects taking shape. But investments like the Gold Ox Donkey Abattoir, influx of Chinese labor, and the importation of Chinese fish in recent times has been at the center of this relationship. Dr. Bob Wekesa, lecturer at the Witwatersrand, posits that the visits, though commendable, do not immediately translate to change.
It will appear that most of the developed nations, and particularly the multinationals, want only to use Africa as a market. But at the same time, we cannot use their countries as markets. We cannot sell our products there because then they will have so many restrictions. They will say you don't meet certain thresholds and regulations and so forth that guide international trade. And so I think these will remain sticking issues going forward, but the fact that they are on the table, they will climb up the agenda, and I think it's just a matter of time.
And in the court of public opinion,
Prime Minister Netanyahu, hiyo bwana mimi inisaidii. Nitakumbuka sana nani Obama.
Kama sisi wanariadha ametusaidia sasa mambo na visa, tunaweza pata huko kwa urahisi na tunaweza kuingia nje ya Amerika kwa njia iliyo rahisi sana.
On the issue of security, I think it will help us because the Israelis are good in security.
Kenya is preparing to welcome another guest, Japan's Premier Shinzo Abe. Another visit to send a statement that Japan is Kenya's friend. It is said that the first principle of foreign policy is good governance at home, making Kenya attractive for Kenyans, not just for foreigners. What matters to Kenyans is the economy, peace, environment, culture, and diaspora diplomacy. And those who care about the same then are our true friends. Dorcas Wangira, KTN News.